When you were first approached about auditioning for Hugo, how aware were you of Martin Scorsese's work as a filmmaker?
I was pretty aware, I mean, I knew, of course, you always know Martin Scorsese, you know who he is, basically, and he's a legend, so you always know his name. But I wasn't allowed to see really any of his movies until, I saw Aviator right before the film, which I saw that probably a year before I did Hugo. And so I did know that he was really good, but I hadn't seen, any of his classics. But I was a little too young. And then now I have seen, actually, a good bit of his movies, so.
And what do you think convinced him to pick you for Isabelle?
Well, I actually tricked him into thinking I was a British actress when I auditioned for the role. I went in and, throughout the whole auditioning process, he thought I was British until at the end of this one audition I did in person with him. I was like, okay, thank you, Marty, bye. And he was like, hold up. He was like, you're American? I was like, I am. He was like, I thought you were British. I was like, I tricked you. He was like, oh my gosh. So I think that's what it was. I tricked him into thinking.
Good technique to pass on to other young actors,
Yeah, lie to your director. No, I'm kidding.
Did you create much of a background for Isabelle before we meet her in the film?
Yeah, definitely. With every character I do, I try and think about who the character is outside of the film. Outside of this one little block that the film goes through. Who are they before this? Who are they after this? What are they thinking? And that's what me and my brother Trevor actually really get into is their thoughts and their thought process and their emotions and their actions.
And was it interesting for you looking at Isabelle and her love for certain words, long words, and comparing that to what you had to say as Hit Girl, for example?
Yeah, definitely. It's interesting. I definitely replaced, my purple wig and my knives with a beret and some books. So that's kind of the difference with this movie. I think it's a lot more holy than Kick-Ass.
The film's very much an adventure for Isabelle. How is it an adventure for you as a young actress, especially being surrounded by such legends as Sir Ben Kingsley and Sir Christopher Lee?
It's huge, not only am I being able to work with Scorsese in my whole life, but I'm being able to work with him at 14. So I'm being able to go through such a beautiful emotional process with this film that, I really wouldn't take away for anything. It was a beautiful film to be a part of, and I'm really proud of it, my accent and everything.
Was there anything you picked up from some of the, let's say, older actors?
Yeah, you pick up a lot from just being around them and being with them and watching them and interacting with them and seeing how they act and react, as actors. And so I definitely learned a lot from Ben and, Sacha Baron Cohen and, Sir Christopher Lee and everyone, really.
Bearing in mind Sacha Baron Cohen had a moustache, were you ever tempted to say, please, just do a bit of Borat for me?
No. It was interesting. When I first met him, I was like, I wonder how he's going to be, what he's going to be like. Is he going to be like a real-life Borat? Like, you never know. And so when I met him, he was just one of the most professional, posh, kind of gentlemen of all time that I've ever met. And it was really interesting. It was kind of like a shock. I was like I really didn't expect you to be so normal. So, no, I never asked him to do Borat, but I think he did it a couple times on set,